Several members of the CS community this past weekend were actually removed from Faceit Pro League, otherwise known as FPL. For many of you guys who do not know about this, FPL is a pretty big achievement for many pro players out there. Not only a chance to be recognized by other key figures and high-profile players and potentially teams, alongside that, maybe earn additional little income on the side. It's a huge achievement that many pro players never even get to make, and once they do, they try their best to try and keep their spot in the league, which as this past weekend, many players have now been removed for a variety of reasons, some of which have actually been top performers, others of which were moved to tiers, and still others that were removed shortly after their entrance into the league. Within 3 weeks of them getting the opportunity to actually compete in Faceit Pro League, they've already been kicked out of the league. Now, alongside that, one of them being Ankur as well from the Navi Junior Academy team. At least as of right now, he holds his spot on that Navi Junior team. Accordingly to many and himself, he was actually moved to tiers during all of this. I'll play you guys a video as well as the full clip down below. The Navi Junior team, who then goes on to state if he was actually removed for toxicity and disrespect, as Ankur does state that was among the reasons he was kicked from FPL in the first place. They also make the joke and jab, obviously these are Navi Junior members, as to why Simple still holds a spot in the league. Here is a CS Pro moved to tiers after his kick.
Кейсы, блядь. А мне есть кейс, интересно. У меня ни одного кейса нету. Блядь, ну это пиздец.
У меня миллион.
Сейчас. Смотри, сейчас выбью с первого нож сразу.
Да, да. Ну, кстати, без рофлов я играл в Faceit, просто у меня на глазах выпал Керыч, Доплер, Факторини. Я просто завалил. Еще вторая фаза. Ну, типа, я просто завалил. Ты выкупаешь это чувство сразу. Да ладно, ему выпал, и
А, у
потом
меня в
начинаешь
хранилище,
крутить.
точно, у меня в хранилище.
Потом начинаешь крутить сам, и, конечно же, тебе выпадает только...
Что, пацаны? Будем?
Заходите.
Да, заходите, мы только вас ждем, ребят.
Да, я зашел.
Они там уже пишут.
Зашел.
Не захожу.
А где они по новизне? Почему их здесь нет? Смотри, блядь, показываю нахуй, как выбивается нож, блядь, с 2 кейсов.
Вилан, ты каждый день стримишь?
Да.
Сколько уже месяцев подряд без пропусков?
Да. Что случилось же?
Давай, заходите, полетели.
Чего? Завязано что? Да.
Серьезно, тебя кикнули с АПЛ?
Да.
Тебя кикнули с ФПЛ? В смысле, за
Кого?
что?
А Ункера?
Ну, он говорит, да.
Бля, ну я бы тильтанул нахуй.
Это...
Да, на самом деле вообще.
Ну это репорты, наверное, какие-то были, да?
Я тут.
Репорты были, дядь, да?
А? Мне тип написал, что... Я не хочу говорить.
Ладно.
Окей.
Ладно,
Я
поехали.
понял, дядь. Дядь, не расстраивайся, похуй.
Респект и токсик. Я никогда ничего не говорил плохого.
Бля, странно.
Типа,
А Simple, блядь, не токсик, нахуй.
And we have seen these controversial removals and kickings in the past. Unfortunately, so when it comes to this channel, I can only really cover it when it becomes a bigger problem like it now has. Many pro players now giving their official responses on these kicks and removals of several top FPL performers and other FPL members for a variety of reasons, as voted by the admins and the council, aka by the players. Flusha gave his response I found most important as of right now. He said he was more of the fair side of things when it came to voting. Of the 50 potential players to be kicked, he voted for around 10 or so. Butters, who was actually kicked within 3 weeks of being given his entrance into the FPL, Flusha did not vote to kick, and he also states he does not agree with everyone kicked and voted to be kicked by the admins and the councils. I think the main point he did make, though, is this is actually a focus point for all players who are actually kicked from FPL to focus on why you were moved and maybe not say F you to all the admins and council on Twitter, but to focus on the reasons behind you were potentially kicked from Faceit Pro Pro League. Maybe just because you play an easy position or play a certain role when it comes to FPL matches, just because you have a nice KD does not matter. Maybe you overall affected when it comes to actual toxicity or disrespect. Maybe that's the reason you were removed as a whole. And Faceit also goes on to state that friendship does not matter, and so focus on the reason as to why you were kicked and to grow and learn from that and get better instead of taking to Twitter and just trash talking the people who kicked you. Now that does make sense. That's a great response, albeit though, that's if all these pro players who get kicked and who get removed get the reasons as to why they were. Now, apparently, Onker got sent an email or a long message and was told his was because of disrespect and toxicity. He also states afterwards, if you guys saw that though, that he had never said a mean thing to anyone. So I agree with AB Overdrive as long as all of these players who are being kicked are given the right reasons or given reasons in general, because you cannot expect a player out there to be kicked from FPL and to learn and grow from the experience if he has no idea why he was kicked and why he was voted off by other players. It's also very tough to believe it's not really much of a friendship league when there are other toxic pro players out there. I'm not just talking about Simple. You know, we had that drama with Simple versus Aiken. I didn't think it was that toxic, but Simple, notorious toxic figure. There are other FPL pro players competing currently that I have not touched on because, unfortunately, again, I can't really touch on every individual toxic CSGO player. It doesn't make sense. I'd have a video probably every single day. There are other toxic and disrespectful FPL pros that have not been kicked. So to play the other side of things, it's understandable to see why some of these pros who were kicked for toxicity and disrespect would see it as unfair, as there are still current FPL members that are also toxic and disrespectful, but happen to be friends or top tier pros in the league. I do really love how Flusha in his statement as well said, just because you made FPL does not mean you have made it in Counter-Strike. You got to keep putting your best foot forward, your best effort forward as well, but certainly got to play both sides here because, it's understandable that some of these kickings or removals were a little bit questionable, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. There's always going to be FPL drama. There's always going to be questionable kicks and removals. If you're a bit more transparent as to why people are kicked and removed, that resolves at least a few of the issues out there that we are now seeing. Very lastly, guys, Lobo was very vocal about this, probably the most vocal of pro players about his thoughts on FPL just last week. He actually had many people thinking he was the reason that many of these kickings have now been brought forward. He actually had his own response on this very shortly, saying he was open, he was honest, and not one person's opinion is going to change these kind of things that was voted on by many players and many CSGO pros. I'll continue to cover this in the future, guys. I certainly do agree, based off the evidence we have seen so far, that a few of these kickings were questionable. I think Faceit on their side can do a lot better job being more transparent as to why certain players and certain pros are being kicked and removed, and that instantly resolves a lot of the issues. The debate will still be had, guys, and I'll still be covering it. Until next time, guys, FPL drama continues, and so too does the show. Until next time, drink your Wawa, drink your coffee. Okay, haha, goodbye.